Good morning, and welcome to the Amanda V-Neck Sew-Along. This is going to be a quick tutorial video going over how to construct a traditional V-neck band with the midline center seam. I know some of you have probably run into trouble constructing your V-neck bands in the past. Sometimes it can be difficult to achieve a nice sharp point with no puckering. So I've discovered a little tip that helps me, and I'll be sharing that with you today. It does require one additional supply. I use Wash Away Wonder Tape. You can pick this up at Joann's or on Amazon. It's a 1/4 inch double-sided tape that just helps adhere the band to the garment before you add your basting stitches to ensure that everything is lined up just exactly how you like. All right, so let's move to our sewing machine and we'll get started. I've just cut out my neckband, and I used the chart that you can find on your pattern piece to determine the length and width. I am making a size 2/4, so my neckband was 30 inches long by 2.5 wide. This is my neckband. I've chosen to use tri-blend. I know that some of you have expressed that you've had difficulty working with tri-blend with neckbands in the past. And I wanted to show you that with this method, tri-blend can be as easy, if not easier, to work with than any other fabric. So the first step is to take the small ends of our neckband and create a V notch. It's going to make the front of our V neckband. First, and I'm going to do this a little differently than the instructions, we are going to fold the neckband lengthwise along the length, free edges together, right sides together. I know that sounds backwards. I did say right sides together. So now I'm looking at the wrong side of the fabric. I have it folded lengthwise with the free edge lined up. And then we're going to be using the front bodice piece of our pattern. And I'm going to take my neckband. The free edge is here where the two pieces meet up, and I'm going to line that free edge up against the neckline of the pattern. Following the curve, I want to make sure that this point on the neckband and this point on the neckline match up perfectly. And this is where I'm going to differ from the instructions. In the instructions it tells you to cut along this line. Instead of doing that, I'm going to simply mark it with my fabric marker. I'm going to place my ruler along the fold of the pattern, and I drew a line right there. Now I'm going to take my fabric marker and extend that line just to the tip of the fold of the fabric, so that when I flip it over, I can see it from the other side. Now I have the neckband flipped over. See, that's the line we just drew. I flip it over, and I'm going to draw a line from the top point down to this point. I'm going to use my ruler. So that when you open the neckband, on the wrong side of the fabric, you now have this triangle drawn. I'm going to do it again on the other side in case it was a little tricky. You can see it done once again. So you have the length of your neckband. You want to fold it right sides together, lining up the free edge along the length of your neckband, like so. You want to line the free edge up against the curve of the pattern piece and draw a line just like that, so that it follows the fold of the pattern. Now I'm going to carry that line just across the fold so I can see it from the other side. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to draw a line from that point down to the corner. So that when you open your neckband piece, on the wrong side of the fabric, you now have this triangle drawn. The reason that I do not go ahead and cut on this line is that in the next step we will be sewing here. And I have found that when I sew very close to the edge of my fabric, sometimes my machine has a tendency to want to pull the fabric down into the machine. Having this still intact helps prevent that from happening. So we'll move over to the sewing machine and we'll move on to the next step. In this next step, you want to place the two short ends of your fabric right sides together, like so. You want to make sure that the neckband is not twisted, but that it's nice and smooth and straight. Your short ends are lined up right sides together, and what we're going to do now is we're going to sew just inside this line. So not on the purple line, but just inside to the point and back down the other side with a straight stitch. So now I've sewn with a straight stitch just inside my purple mark. It's important that you sew up one side, and when you reach the point, put your needle down, pivot, and sew back down the other side so that you get that nice sharp point. Now I am going to cut just underneath the purple line. So that then your neckband looks like this. And then I'm going to create a little notch. I'm going to cut upward from the point toward the seam, but not through the seam. It's going to be just a tiny little cut. Try to get as close to the seam as you can. Right there. Just create a little notch. Now I'm going to head over to the iron, and I'm going to show you another little extra step that I do to ensure that I get a crisp point. Now I'm over at the ironing board. I have the same piece. I'm simply going to open it up, and I am going to open the seam allowance on this V and iron it open. This step is not necessary, but I find that it helps to create a nice crisp V. So you can see I simply iron the seam open. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay. So now when you fold your neckband, wrong sides together, matching up the point, lining up your free edge, hopefully you can start to see just how nice and crisp that center seam, the midline seam is. And you're getting excited for just how perfect this V-neck is going to be. You can see that perfect center seam on both sides. And now I'm simply going to iron all the way around my neckband, folding it wrong sides together and lining up the free edge, and then I'm going to press. I now have my neckband pressed. I know that ironing can be a tedious task, but when you're doing V-necks, it can really help ensure a good outcome. So I have it pressed well, and now I am going to apply a basting stitch. I use my serger, If you have only a sewing machine, you can use a zigzag stitch. I am going to sew around the free edge of my neckband all the way back around with a 0 seam allowance, meaning that I'm not going to remove any of the fabric. I'm going to keep my neckband to the left of my knife so that it does not remove any of the fabric, but that all of the stitches go onto the very edge of the neckband. I'm going to do that and I'll meet you back. I now have my neckband basted with my serger. You can see that I've serged just along the free edge all the way around. Still has plenty of stretch. The reason that I do this basting stitch is because all knit fabrics, especially tri-blend, tend to curl along the free edge when you stretch them. And you'll be stretching your neckband when you attach it to your shirt. And the curling free edge on the neckband, the curling edge on the neckline of your garment can be a little tricky keeping them all lined up. So this just eliminates that difficulty and helps ensure a great final finish. Alright, so now we're going to attach it to our garment. The first step in attaching the neckband to the garment is to baste along the V of the shirt. We are going to be sewing with our sewing machine a straight stitch about 1.5 inches up down to the V point, about 1.5 inches up the other side. I've sewn my basting stitch out of 1/4 inch seam allowance down to the point and back up. The next step, I'm going to be applying the wash away wonder tape. I simply use about 1.5 inch strip, cut it off, and apply it right along the basting strip, right along the edge of the free edge of your fabric and down to the point. I then remove the tape backing and do the same thing to the other side. If your wonder tape overlaps at the point, that's fine. Press it down and remove the backing. So now your double-sided tape is applied to the edge of your V. The next step is to cut a notch. We will be cutting this notch from the V down toward your basting stitch, but not through your basting stitch. So this is what it will look like. You have your wonder tape applied, you have your notch cut just down to the basting stitch. Now you're going to take your V-neck band and you are going to line the V point right up against the notch, just like that. I'm going to hold it down with one finger while I take the other, turn it, and press it down along the tape. I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. I'm going to hold the notch, turn the V, and press it down along the tape. Now when we flip it, you can get an idea of what your final V-neck will look like. And you can see that if I sew along here, I will get a little bit of puckering. You see that? So the wonder tape gives you an opportunity to kind of peek ahead and see what it will look like and fix it. So now I'm simply going to, my shirt is right side out, my neckband is flipped up. I'm simply going to remove this portion from the wonder tape and just re-adhere it. I'm going to pull it off, tighten it, and re-adhere. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I'm going to pull it off and re-adhere. Can you see how much better that looks? Now that is the type of V that we want on our finished product. And now we're ready to baste. So we're going to flip our neckband forward once again so that you're looking at the wrong side. And we are going to be sewing just where the wonder tape is, about 1.5 inches from the point, down toward the point. Leave your needle down, pivot, and 1.5 inches up the other side using a straight stitch on your sewing machine. Now I applied my basting stitch 1.5 inches down to the point and back around so that when you flipped to the other side, you can see what a nice, pretty point that's going to be. So now we just have to fit our neckband around the neckline. This will be similar to other neckbands that you've done in the past. First, I want to find the center back of my garment. I do that by finding each of the shoulder seams, placing them together, folding the garment in half, and this is my center back. I'm going to simply place a clip right there. And you can see that's the center back of the garment. I now have my neckband. I am going to hold my fingers on the V point and stretch the neckband so that I can find the center back of the neckband. I take that center back and I place it at the center back of the shirt with the free edge or the basted edge facing up. And now I'm going to find my quarter points on the sides. I do that by holding the center back and the center front, turning the shirt sideways, and I stretch. I stretch the neckband until it is the same length and lines up with the neckline. I walk my fingers in toward the center and I place a clip. I'll do that again on the other side. I'm going to turn the shirt. I have my center front, the V, in one hand. My center back, that will be at the back of your neck, in the other hand. And I stretch the neckband until it lines up the same length as the neckline. And then I walk my hands in toward the center and clip. These are called your quarter points. The front center seam, the back, and both sides. We have them clipped. If you feel more comfortable, you can put clips in between these. I have the V point and the quarter point. You can see the neckband behind is shorter than the neckline. So I stretch until it's the same length as the neckline. Walk my fingers to the center and place a clip. You can add as many clips as it makes you feel comfortable with your neckline. Now we are going to serge to attach the neckband to the neckline, and between each clip you will simply stretch the neckband until it is the same length as the neckline. You don't want to overstretch so that you're actually stretching the garment itself, or you'll get a wavy neckline. You only want to stretch until the neckband is the same length as the garment. I'm going to attach my neckband and I'll meet you back. One quick note before I attach it, I begin sewing at the V point. So I sew from the V around the neckband and then back around and finish at the V. And my neckband is done. You can see the nice V. So I hope yours turns out as well. And I didn't realize the video was going to end up this long, so thank you for sticking with me through this video, and I hope it was helpful for you.